This just kind of gives me a ray of sunshine when I get somewhere like this and I see all this growth and sunshine in the ground, because there's stuff in here that's good for wildlife.
There is so much to be said here. We might run out of video.
That's all right.
Here at Mossy Oak, one of our core philosophies is about time. We believe time will always be our most valuable asset, and one of our greatest blessings in life is the time we get to spend in nature. Now, it's not just our responsibility, it's our privilege to protect and nourish the wildlife and resources that make it all possible. A selfless commitment to give back more than you receive and leave things better for the future. That's what it means to be a gamekeeper. Join us each week as we focus on the wildlife we all love and explore the practices and the people who are making a difference in our quest to become a better gamekeeper. The Gamekeepers of Mossy Oak is presented by Tractor Supply Company for life out here and LS Tractor. Start blue, stay blue.
All right, everybody, here we are once again, West Point, Mississippi, home of Mossy Oak brand camo, the Gamekeeper Studio.
Heating up out there, isn't it, Bob?
It is hot outside. It was 96 when I walked in.
We do, I'd say that we have a good crop of sunflowers. We've got them early. They got the roots down deep in that old prairie black dirt. They look pretty good.
That's good to hear. Maybe
They're
we'll
pretty
get
drought tolerant. They're pretty hardy.
Lanny, maybe we'll get an invitation.
Maybe. Never know.
Yeah.
I'll keep my fingers crossed.
Depends on if we have a good many. If we don't have many, y'all are welcome to come.
Oh, yeah, there we go. All right.
time.
Well, it's game on now today.
Yep, absolutely.
Look, today we've got a really interesting guest. We've got Dr. Craig Harper.
All right.
Y'all don't have very many people come on.
You're with the University of Tennessee in the Extension Department, if I've got that correctly. And
Go Vols.
well, wait a minute. Now, let's go.
The privilege is mine. I am very happy to be here with you.
Well, look here, guys. I knew I was going to like him when he pulled up last night. And I looked in the back of the truck. There's a chainsaw, a backpack sprayer, a drip torch, a
That's
bottle
what
of
I'm talking about.
herbicide,
Some
a couple of
conservation
axes.
Man,
Standard operating equipment.
Yeah.
I mean, you never
place to
know when
place.
you're going to need a drip torch in the middle of the summer.
We have essentially 5 successional stages. The annual grasses and forbs, the perennial grasses and forbs, the first woody plant community, and then you can then have different forests come in depending on their shade tolerance following that. This is outstanding.
Right.
Turkey nesting cover. Look at all this woody growth that's in here. So very well protected. This is outstanding fawning cover. These areas provide important components of turkey habitat.
Okay.
You know, some people talk about brooding habitat. I look at brooding cover, and brooding cover being a component of turkey habitat.
Gotcha.
You can't have turkeys if you don't have brooding cover, you know.
It seems to all go back to this word that I hear frequently these days in management is diversity.
I've been just dying to say that word the whole time he's been talking.
You can have a diversity of successional stages. You can have a diversity of vegetation types. Within one, you have a diversity of all of the plant species that are in there. Big limitation that I see in working with so many people is, are you kidding me? I'm not letting my property grow up like that, but that's perspective.
Sure.
You've got to start looking at things through a deer or a turkey or a bobwhite or a rabbit or whatever's eyes.
I think of people managing for trophy whitetails, and they're like, big timber, lush food plots, and they think they've got it made, and they don't.
Missing a lot.
That is, yeah, you're missing so much.
And I am so much a proponent of being a good steward of the land, and you're steering things in a particular direction, but you're not trying to force things. The next logical question is, okay, so what are you going to do with that? The next thing I go back to is, what are your objectives for this site? If your objectives is to provide nesting cover for turkeys, congratulations, you've just done it. This looks outstanding with regard to nesting cover. These trees, within a couple of years, are going to be on up here.
That's right.
And it'll be time even for nesting cover to begin thinking about setting some of this back. If your objective for this site is brooding cover,
Right.
or to feed deer, then I would be looking at either an herbicide application or to burn this off late fall or in the winter and then follow that with some discing
Right.
to
Just to
disturb the soil
yeah,
and get
right.
more annual plants
Right.
and open up that structure at ground level. And so there's not necessarily a right or wrong. It's more dependent on, okay, what is it you're wanting here, because all early succession is not the same.
Hey, be sure to stay connected with us on both Facebook and Instagram at Mossy Oak Gamekeepers. Hey, to find your favorite place, be sure to talk to the land experts at Mossy Oak Properties. They are the most trusted and proven network for buying or selling rural land in the country, truly serving as America's land specialist.
What is your property looking like in April? You know, what is going on in April? Because a lot of people, you know, they're thinking about turkey season, I am too, but you need to also be thinking about your deer at that time, because they're fixing to head into that critical period when increased nutrition is so important, and the amount of it. Deer will eat a lot of food if they have it available. If they don't have it available, they're not going to eat quite as much.
Right.
And they're going to be forced to eat lower quality foods.
Yep.
Having that average, mixed, high quality diet across the property is very important.
A lot of people think about antlers in the summer. That's when they put them on. I want to have something so they put on maximum antler growth. But if you let them get into that with the tank out of gas a little bit, they're just not going to do as much. You know, they get up every day needing something to eat.
Very seldomly do I see management plan that is actually written for the huntability of the property, while also, and I'm going to say maximizing either the nutritional value and the cover value of that property.
It's just assume you have a tract and it's 100% timber. The only way you'll ever start this process is to cut some trees.
So think about this. That's like a beautiful blank canvas, and you look at the photo of the property, you overlay the topo, and then you overlay the soils map, and you add in your roads and trails. Now all of a sudden you are placing the different vegetation types or successional stages. You're deciding, okay, where am I going to have areas that I'm going to maintain as thick bedding cover for deer? Where are the areas that I'm going to try to burn or disc on a relatively frequent basis to have the best areas for natural foraging for deer, or nesting cover, or brooding cover for turkeys, etc.?
But I was just thinking about rotating. If you had enough to say a third, and you could rotate those every 3 years, kind of start over, then you would keep them all within that early successional.
And what you've just described is, for example, you got a big field and you are disking or burning or spot spray, some kind of disturbance on a third of it each year. That way you've got, you know, a 1 year community, what's called a 1 year rough, a 2 year rough, a 3 year rough, that kind of thing. There's not many people that concentrate on, okay, I'm going to set up a deer bedding block, holding cover for deer right here, and I'm going to maintain it as that cover. Just like you would set up, okay, this field is going to be a food plot. I like to do the same thing with deer, so I know at any given time, this is where the deer are bedded on this property, at least the majority of them. And we know that because of cameras that we put in there. It's astonishing at how much use these things get. The deer get in there, and then you'll just see them on camera, they're just standing there like for 2 hours, and their ears are twitching this way, looking around, and then they'll lay down, and then they'll get up, and I mean, they're just literally hanging out there, like
They
from
feel so safe
from
right there.
from 2 to 5 o'clock. They're just there.
Yep.
And is that not powerful? Setting up cover that holds your deer, and how do you manage and maintain that cover is very important. We were reminded today the clover plots are beginning to stress a little bit with this intense heat. But when you go to places where the soil has been disturbed and you've got all these naturally occurring plants, they weren't wilting down.
No, they were jamming.
They were looking perfectly happy because they're adapted to these conditions, these soils, these temperatures, this climate. Some of those don't even have their most vigorous growth until temperatures are in the upper 80s, for example. And so they're still trucking along. You still got those young leaves out there at the ends of the twigs, so in the driest times of the summer, you still can have plants that are providing optimal nutrition for deer. Turkey management helps deer. Deer management in general helps turkeys, but there are differences. And so you look at that photo, the topographic map on top of your property photo, the soils, your roads and trails, and all of a sudden you begin to see, okay, ecology, the topography, the biology of the species is beginning to show me where to place these things, and I'm meshing this with my access, the predominant wind directions. It's like a puzzle that you're putting together, but you're using nature to help you put together the puzzle.
Keepers of Mossy Oak is presented by Mossy Oak Brand Camo, Native Nurseries and Biologic, Mossy Oak's Gamekeeper Kennels, and Gamekeeper Butchery, Mossy Oak Companions, Mossy Oak Fishing, Mossy Oak Properties, LS Tractors, The Furminator, Spartan Cameras, Nosler Bullets, Loophole Optics, Moultrie Feeders, Duke Traps, Gamekeepers Magazine and Gamekeepers Fieldwear. Also, Biologic BCP deer feed available at Tractor Supply. Be sure to listen to both our podcasts, The Gamekeepers of Mossy Oak and Fistful of Dirt, brought to you by Mossy Oak Properties.
The other thing to complete the picture is not trying to feed all your deer or feed all your turkeys or whatever just in your food plot.
Yes,
but also
absolutely.
having your woods management and your field management rocking where, I mean, if you've got 1,000, 1,500 pounds of deer forage, not biomass, but of deer forage in your woods, and you know, a couple of 1,000 pounds in your old field areas, and those plants in the old field areas occurring naturally, they can withstand those dry conditions better than many of our planted forages can. And so considering that is huge with regard to your holistic land management.
This is a good example. A year ago at this time, this clover field was getting weekly rainfalls.
Oh yeah.
And it's looking like this summer, it's probably gonna go dormant. Just goes to show, as much as we do love clover, you've got to manage for the whole picture.
Oh, absolutely.
Certainly feels a need, a niche. It helps and it gets you higher than what you have otherwise, but don't ignore all of the areas in between in your woods and your fields. I don't want to give the picture that you have to have early successional vegetation to have good forage or fawning cover or nesting cover for turkeys. Turkeys are perfectly happy to nest in the woods. The trick is your management. Are you managing the woods to provide nesting cover in the woods?
Right.
Most times that's not happening, and so the turkeys are nesting there with relatively little vegetation cover. And when they have better cover available in the understory, that's when you can see better nesting success. So the structure could be in the woods or in an open area.
It goes back to a recent study that you've done that was showing that there was less than 5% of this ideal habitat that the turkeys desired to nest in.
We're still in this project. This is the 6th year, put transmitters on, I don't know, almost 650 hens, and not counting the gobblers. And I think we've monitored 578 nests in 5 counties in South Middle Tennessee, and that's the area that had the greatest decline in harvest over the last 10 years or so. We have 10 study sites in those 5 counties, 2 counties of which have not seen a decline, 3 counties that have, and so it's been very interesting to see what the productivity has been. In those counties, anywhere from 3 to 4% is in either early succession or shrubland. However, the turkeys, the hens, are seeking out those areas, and even though early succession might represent 3% of what's available to them, about 25, almost 30% of the nests are in those areas. We have a relatively high success rate, nest success rate in those areas. It's on average around 30-some%, which is decent. But that doesn't mean that's better than what's in the woods. Regardless of where the nest is, what at least our data have shown is helping influence the success is the cover that is available around the nest, where the hen is choosing to nest, and whether it's in the woods or in early successional areas. If there is sufficient vegetation, especially over the nest, around the nest, we're seeing, I think it was like a 2% increase in daily nest survival, which, you know, over time can be
That
pretty
adds
good.
up.
That's a lot. Closed captioning is brought to you by Gamekeepers Fieldwear. Discover our premium apparel at select sporting goods retailers or online at gamekeepersfieldwear.com. Subscribe to our Gamekeepers magazine or grab a copy at Bass Pro Shops, Tractor Supply, and Walmart.
Do you want to improve a property's huntability? Our Gamekeepers podcast number 99 has an in-depth conversation with Dr. Harper. Subscribe and you won't miss an episode. Did you know that we raise money that goes directly to wildlife research? You can support these projects by purchasing a Mossy Oak wild turkey stamp. With this simple act, you'll demonstrate your dedication to conservation and directly contribute to ongoing wildlife research. Learn more at mossyoak.com. I hear a lot of people say, well, you know, I can't do all that on my property. My property isn't set up like that.
Yeah, some may only have one spot where you can have a food plot, and it may not necessarily be the most ideal.
Well, that's why I brought up a minute ago. You can cut trees anywhere there's a tree just about and let nature do it for you. So, I mean, there's usually a way in some form. Now, you might not can go in and create it by your own hand and till it and bush hog it and so forth, but, you know, typically there's a way to create it at a minimum, you know, to make the place into a great bedding area.
It seems a lot easier to make the habitat, but putting it in the right place to improve your hunting success is 100-fold more difficult to process
Absolutely.
in the normal human brain.
I can tell you the nutritional carrying capacity of this. I can tell you the nutritional value of that. I can tell you how to kill this, what to spray there, when, how much to do. That's science, okay? We know that. But how do you place these things, arrange these things on your property to facilitate and maximize in your hunting? That's art. Think about your property as a canvas and how you put these things together.
Yes.
Think about your access. Think about getting into the stand and out of the stand, where you could wear a blue leisure suit and Old Spice.
Wash your mouth out. Wash your mouth out.
I figured I'd get a reaction.
Oh, man.
I mean, but think about it. If you have it set up to where the wind direction is correct,
Now you're
then
talking.
your scent is not as critical as it is if you're trying to force yourself into an area and it's blowing from the bedding area.
Theoretically, you could get into it without it, and the field's got deer in it already, and they'll never know you were there.
Exactly.
That would be, if you can try to, you know,
because you
which
got to
means
get out.
that.
you got to do some work for that.
Yeah,
And-
and getting out is just as important.
Think
Maybe-
about
Oh,
where
yeah.
99.9% of the shooting houses are, on the edge of the field.
Of course.
And so what if those shooting houses are backed up 40, 50 yards in the woods? You cut some trees in the front to get all that bushed up. You don't access the shooting house from the edge of the field. You access it from a trail from behind. You can't see the food plot when you're climbing up. You can't see the food plot until you just get up into the stand, and then you're coming up over that cover, and there it all is. That's decreasing your hunting pressure without deer knowing that you're there. That is increasing your daily observations because the deer are using those areas more in the daytime. It's huge.
But that's the kind of stuff that we like to lay in bed and obsess about to make huntability better.
Toss this one out there for free, a little tidbit when somebody's setting up a property. Makes a huge difference. You've got your property roads. Where does everybody put their food plots?
On the road.
That's right. Instead of having like a little spur road to get to the food plot that is at least 50, and I'm gonna say 100 yards from the main road, you sit overlooking those fields, and you're watching deer feed, and somebody comes on the ATV on the main property trail, those deer are gonna be feeding. They're gonna lift their head up, and they're gonna follow the sound, and they're gonna put their head right back down. On those fields that are right next to the road, they're gone before the ATV ever gets there, or as soon as it does. That is hunting pressure.
It seems like oftentimes we end up talking about larger canvases, but smaller properties might only be one of the things that you're describing. It might only be bedding area.
I think of some properties in the Midwest that has all the food and the best quality food a deer could ever eat all around it, but somebody's just bought 25 acres. You're special. Right there in southeast Iowa. You know what I'm saying? I'm not worried about food plots in that situation.
No.
I'm worried about developing thick cover that's going to hold deer, because as soon as those crops are harvested, where are they going to go? They're going to the cover.
This whole thing has been fascinating, guys. I know we've enjoyed it, and there's been a lot going on today. Dr. Harper, we appreciate you being here. And
thoroughly enjoy spending time with y'all. It's a fun group.
Yeah, well, we've enjoyed
Very
you.
easy to talk to.
Well, let's look. We've been here a while. Why don't you say goodbye, Dudley?
Goodbye, Dudley.